Wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross. Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
I'm taking some of that home.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep.
Mongo.
Mondo.
Mondo Burger. Welcome to Good Burger. Welcome to Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Just wait, to further the cheap pop, Mick Foley still owes Tim $10.
Just the definition of blue balls and gaga. It's like
That should be a t-shirt. Blue balls and gaga.
It's still real to me, damn it.
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
they would.
It's Wale.
Wale. I don't
Wale.
listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir.
Oh, it wasn't.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely.
And then you can listen to us too.
Strap on and balls, only on Wrestling Past and Present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Ward, and you're listening to Wrestling where wrestling's past and present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis. Mongo.
Hi.
I'm getting pummeled by silence over here.
And I'm Mongo, but I'm just excited that Jeff Hardy's all elite, baby.
Oh, welcome to Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. We wanted to have a little fun with the Jeff Hardy intro. If anybody didn't notice when he debuted, Matt Hardy's getting the shit kicked out of him, and he's just dancing his way down the ramp.
Sometimes you just gotta dance. He cooks at it best. Sometimes I just gotta dance.
It reminds me of the Triple H segment when Shawn Michaels and him were imitating the McMahons, and Shawn's dancing around like Shane, and he's like, "Dad, I just feel like I gotta dance." And he goes, "Yeah," does this thing, it reminds me of that. I gotta dance.
And I just want to point out too that we called both Swerve, who debuted at Revolution, and Jeff Hardy, who debuted this past Wednesday. A few weeks ago, we posted that they both, were likely to sign with AEW. So it's kind of nice that hearing them, but then also seeing it, because you're still surprised, because you're like, everyone signs with AEW, or everyone's going to sign with Impact, or everyone's going to sign with WWE according to the internet. I mean, friggin' Dave Meltzer this week is like, so the plan with Cody's off. This was the plan, could still be the plan. Not sure if it's the plan, but he might show up, I might not. It's like, dude, you throw every scenario so you can't be wrong.
Yeah. but the ball's in Cody's court.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly the type of thing that guys like Bruce Pritchard hate Meltzer for, because that is the epitome of like bullshit journalism. It's like, I don't know, but I'm going to make a story about it, and then I'm going to cover both sides and then be like, see, I was right. It's like, no shit. It's like when a meteorologist comes out and says we're going to get a dusting to 2 feet, and he's like, nailed it. It's like, yeah, you gave me a 2-foot fucking window. Of course you nailed it.
Or even recently, like there was a show, some guys like, oh, I totally called that Brock Lesnar was going to win the Chamber. I'm like, you and the entire world.
Yeah.
And he was posting on, Twitter, like, oh, follow me if you want accurate wrestling predictions. And I looked, and you just predicting WWE shows. So by that logic, make sure you're following us at WWPAP Podcast, because we also have those accurate predictions. Because, Stevie Wonder can see WWE booking coming.
Well, what did I text you in the middle of the week after I watched Revolution? All of a sudden it hit me that we had a pay-per-view show that AEW put on that not one title changed hands, and it was not stale. If WWE did it, it would be the stalest shit. You would see it coming. You would know who's going to retain, and it would be predictable.
No, and that's one of the things I enjoyed about Revolution too, is it wasn't as predictable as we thought. I mean, clearly based on our predictions, I didn't do so hot.
I think I did a little bit better, but it still wasn't pretty. I think that's I got maybe one or two more than you, but it was still ugly. Like it was really bad. I don't, you know, it might have only been one more than you. I think that because you and I had a lot of the same, so we might have actually been the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tim probably won. You know,
hey Tim, how'd you do? Do you remember? Oh, that's right. As you may or may not notice, we had a little bit of fun with the intro. Tim is not with us today. He had some stuff come up again. He's currently battling some stuff in his personal life that is way more important than this podcast. Not that this podcast isn't important to us in a different way. So as always, you know, the combo of Mongo and I will step up just like they stepped up for me a couple weeks ago when I was under the weather. We'll always have a show. You know, Mongo has got some stuff going on here coming up where, you know, he might have to miss one. We'll do our best to not have him miss one, but you know, if he does, Tim and I will step up. That might be the debut of me by myself. Who knows if Tim's still not quite ready and Mongo ends up having issues connecting and stuff and we can't get through with it. It might just be a one-man variety show that will be the worst rated show in the history of Triple WPAP.
It's just one man.
Yeah, it'll just be me for 30 minutes singing the Heath Slater entrance song on a loop. So yeah, you don't need to listen to it, but it'll be episode 123 or whatever, and it'll be there. It'll be in sequential order. I might have to have Tim upload it because I don't know how the fuck I'm doing there, but it'll just be like a variety show of me going, "Hey, look, I don't really know how to do all this, but here I am." I don't know why I just sounded like Mankind there for a minute, but have a nice day. But yeah, that's Mongo shtick. I got to stay away from that. But yeah, hopefully Tim's back with us sooner rather than later. You know, I will give Tim 100% credit that like every week he's like, "Oh, see you next week," and then by the middle of the week he just realizes he's not going to be able to pull it off. And I would honestly rather have that because it shows that like he's doing his best and he wants to be here. You know, it's not like he's like, "Oh, I got to do the podcast," and he's like, "Oh, fuck it, I don't want to do it." He just has a lot going on. So, you know, hopefully he gets stuff, you know, straightened out so it's easier for him to get here because we definitely miss him.
No, absolutely, and I'm still certain you won the pay-per-view, bud. So, man, that's two prediction shows that you can't rub it in that you got some better predictions than us. But I mean, because
he, it's funny too because he even admittedly was like, "I haven't been watching much because of stuff I got going on," and if he ended up beating us, then it's like, "Wow, we suck."
Right. So, you know, we had Layla Hirsch go over Statlander because she hit her with that turnbuckle hook. I didn't see that coming. Like, that was kind of I'm kind of mad that they're doing that again with her. Like, maybe use that same finish. But
I believe that, like, I called that wrong, but I also mentioned that that's the only way she was going to win, I think. I think I did mention they might, but I also said Statlander was going to win. So, technically,
I know. I said Statlander was going to win, too.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone saw Hook, beating QT Marshall. I mean, I don't even think one person on our poll would have QT Marshall because they know that he's basically the Al Snow. He's the Job Squad. Like that's, I hate to say it, but that's what his Nightmare Factory or whatever turned into. Is the Job Squad.
What if we just put QT on a poll?
I mean, I think his toupee was on there at one point.
QT versus hair replacement therapy.
You know, and it's still on YouTube, but the House of Black on the pre-show, that was a pretty sweet match too. And their entrance with all three of them, that's pretty cool. Like, I know it's Undertaker-esque with the lights going out and everything like that, but I think it's a sweet entrance when it's like it's dark, and then you see the silhouettes of like they're all wearing different headdresses, and then they're just kind of like slowly moving about. It adds like the supernatural element without being like it's a ghost, like or Alexa style, where it's like, oh, I have magical power. Like, no, it's just a guy who's into super creepy goth and into like black magic and stuff like that. Like, cool, you're into that's creepy as shit. Like, it's awesome. But to me, it's like it's believable because it's supernatural-esque, but it's not like Scooby-Doo like shit. I don't know. That's what it is. I feel like, this is like a decent quality, high quality movie with storytelling, and then you have WB where it's like a Scooby-Doo episode where you're like, you know who's under that mask. It's Mr. Jenkins. It's always fucking Mr. Jenkins.
Zoinks! Like, hey, Scoob! Tim's going to hear this and be like, what the fuck?
So I know So were you surprised too about Jericho and Kingston opening up Revolution?
Yes. After seeing the card though, because full disclosure, I didn't watch till Monday, but because I worked Sunday night. But yeah, after seeing the card and the way it was laid out, I think they picked the right one. But yeah, at the very beginning, I was like, holy crap, that's a weird way to go. But I think we had talked about this off air a little bit. I think part of it is too that Jericho wanted to give the fans something to think about, like the whole show with the whole handshake and what's going to happen. Jericho's so good at doing the suspense, and he's done it for so long, and having people have more questions to ask. So like, it just made sense.
No, I agree, and I'm glad Eddie finally got the big one. I know it's a storyline, but it's nice to see him, like Jericho giving him the rub. Like that's huge for Eddie, to stay relevant. So he doesn't fall to mediocrity. So he doesn't fall to just be another guy who didn't make it. And it kind of goes against the grain of all the haters that they're trying to push and find these different people. Like Wardlow's becoming a megastar, which we'll talk about in a minute. Eddie Kingston, who's already been over on the mic, is now getting over in the ring. So they're smart. They do slow burn builds, and like you said, I enjoy the storyline. I'm not the biggest fan of 2.0. I think they're terrible. I mean, they're great wrestlers, but the gimmick is trash. It's cool to see Daniel Garcia teaming up with Jericho because I'm kind of seeing where he's going to bring him. Like that's like his next Sammy, maybe. But it is interesting to see what the storyline basically led to the heel turn. Like you kind of mentioned that this could be the heel turn of Jericho again because he's kind of getting like Big Show. But I pointed out to Emily, this made me laugh. So the first cruise, Jericho was a face. Second cruise, he's a heel. Third cruise, he was a face. And if he stays a heel on the fourth cruise, he's going to be a heel. So literally every cruise, he's flip-flopped, face and heel, and I think that's funny.
He's like you said, he's the Big Show. Well, and so I will say that honestly, like no joke, when 2.0 and Garcia came into the ring and all that stuff happened, and then Santana and Ortiz came out, I didn't see it coming. I will 100% say with certainty that I did not until Jericho had the bat given to him by Santana. I saw it when that happened, or Ortiz, I think, gave it to him. One of them, I can't remember who. One of them gave him the bat. As soon as they handed the bat to him, like, oh no. But like before that, I didn't see it coming at all. I'm like, oh, here we go. Like they're back together. They're gonna have like a de facto sixth member of the inner circle as Uncle Eddie. Uncle Eddie will be like the de facto crazy uncle for the inner circle. And then as soon as the bat got handed, I'm like, oh fuck, he's turning on him. I just had that, and then bang, it's like, oh dude, really? I did not see the Jericho turn coming. I saw, like you had mentioned last week, the Santana Ortiz turn. I thought made more sense.
Yeah,
than the Jericho turn.
They got us. That was good because they planted the seeds for Eddie Kingston and Santana Ortiz turning heel, but now they're going to be the face, and I think reform LAX because now everyone who is in LAX 2.0, and later in the show we're going to talk about LAX half, I guess, because it's not really 1.0 yet.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Homicide and Hernandez, so
yeah, it's Machete who was there for like 5 seconds, but no, I think it'll be interesting because with AEW at least they try to rotate the stories in that it's working. So I like that it's not just one program they focus on; they focus on like 4 or 5 programs. Like I know you said you're kind of getting burned on the Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, but obviously we both agree we think it's going to pay off with her winning in her hometown next week, and it's Eddie Guerrero's hometown who's inspired her. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a huge moment. I think
I'm only getting burned on it because they're doing the matches so back to back. Like, I think that had the pay-per-view match been the pay-per-view before this, and then she had to work her way up to the match in her hometown, it would mean more to me. I just think that they just did. I know they screwed her over. So like, that's the out of like, well, she would have won the match, but like, Jamie Hayter and Reba got involved and all this stuff and everything and whatever. And it's like, no offense, you have magic with these two and you're starting to turn it into Roman. Like you're like pushing it. And it's like you need, so the blow off needs to happen here. Cause if it doesn't, people are just going to be like, dude, how many more times do we need to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker? Not that it's not a good match. You just get tired. It's like Monday Night Raw. You get tired of seeing the same 5 matches.
like Serena Deeb and Sheeta, like they're starting that program up again. I don't want to see it again. But,
no one gives a shit.
But it's
about,
because we've seen it too much. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think that low key, this Serena Deeb thing is fucking stupid. Like I get that. Like I know what they're doing with it, and like she's this jaded, like I'm the better wrestler, blah blah, all this shit. It's like, okay. However, where are you going with this? You're beating up fucking 12-year-olds in the ring, like people that haven't wrestled. Obviously not 12-year-olds, but you're beating up these like students that like haven't like cool. Like, but it's going like it's just look what I can do. I've wrestled for 30 years, and I'm beating up someone that's wrestled for 30 days. Yay me! And it's like you're not beating anybody. So like I get that. I'm glad that they actually have the Sheeta. It sucks that it's Sheeta again, same kind of thing. But like, put her in the ring with Jade Cargill, and then let me know who's going to win. Because I'm getting sick of Jade Cargill too. Because A, she's getting better, but B, she was put in a position where she never should have been on TV with a title this soon. So she either needs to get better or they need to end it, and she is getting better. However, same problem. She's only wrestling up until she wrestled Ty Conti. She was only wrestling people that kind of also weren't polished either. So like these matches really sucked. Like they were bad. They were two unpolished people like slap fighting at each other for 3 minutes, and the match is over, and it's like that was fucking horrible.
No, I mean, I'll give her credit. I mean, thankfully, because Tay in that match with her helped her kind of look, like you said, more improvement. I think her working with that Bryan Danielson backstage, I think, is helping her. She's been working. Yeah. So I'm glad that she's trying, because unlike Nia Jax, who was green for like 300 years, got released, and was like, they told me I had to train more, but I know how to train. Like, you don't know how to train. So I'm glad to see when people take it seriously, because, she didn't come from a wrestling background. So she's got the look, and that's why I think Tony Khan's pushing it, because she does have the look. But I mean, I agree. She's got to drop that TBS title soon, because right now I think that's also why Thunder Rosa is going to win. You can't have 3 of your 4 champions be heels. Like you have to have a mix. So, Thunder Rosa being the face, Britt Baker, I think, going to fight Jamie Hayter, because they've been teasing that. I mean, it started last year. Every time Britt Baker would do the DMD, watch Jamie Hayter. She never does it. Yeah. I pointed it out to Emily once, and now I can't unsee it. So I'm like, I think that's the subtle planning. So I think they're at least getting better with the women's division, with Mercedes Martinez in the mix. But like you said, she's just not ready for the title.
That's the problem, is that like I will give her 100% credit. She's improved. She's putting the work in to improve. It's not her fault the matches are bad. What it was is they jumped the gun, put her on TV too soon, and she had these real sloppy matches with other people who had almost as much ring time as her. Then they'd start making that push of like, we're going to make her undefeated and she's going to challenge for this title. Then when she gets the title, she still has X amount of matches under her belt on TV. She's not ready for the title, but she has the look to carry the title. So it's just a bad mix, because like I said, the first, X amount of title defenses against like Red Velvet, no offense to Red Velvet, but she shouldn't be the one carrying a match ever. Not at this stage. You know what I mean? Like if you had to pick one, right now the person facing Jade should be the one calling the match and setting spots. And you could see that at Revolution, because there were spots where Jade was behind, but you could see that Tay was letting her catch up as best as she could, so it didn't look as sloppy as other matches. There were a few spots that looked bad, but Tay was able to carry the match and make Jade look good. And that's the difference, is that if someone's going to carry that title and look dominant, they kind of need to know what they're doing in the ring. And unfortunately, she knows a lot, just not quite enough yet. And that's the difference. I'm not trying to shit on her. Like I said, I get that she is putting the work in and that she's a hard worker and stuff. And I don't want
hard position to be
right. Yeah. I just want to explain it in a way that people aren't like, oh, all you do is shit on AEW women division. It's like, no, I shit on the position that people get put in wrongfully or rightfully. And in this case, it's like, why would you say no if they're like, we're going to go with you? But in all actuality, she should have been like, I'm not ready yet. Like, it's not, let's wait 6 months, then do this. but why would you say no? You know what I mean? So
no, I think it's hard. I think, it needs maybe like an Anna Jay could be a serious competitor, a serious contender to take it off, because I think she also can be that person, like have the Dark Order, like have them have another title. They have the TNT, now they have the TBS. So I think that'd be a cool storyline aspect to put in there. Because again, it's not like she's Jake. Again, we both agree, Jake Cargill, she's improving, from where she was a year ago. I give her all the credit. If you watch her a year ago to now, she's done so much better.
Yeah.
And she's got the look, and she's got charisma. I love her gimmick. I love that she comes out as Jade from Mortal Kombat at Revolution, and Jared's like, she looks like a superhero. And Excalibur's like, yeah, Mortal Kombat. I wonder who she's playing, and he's like, Jade.
Well, and you got to remember too that like JR is like 70, so he doesn't even know what Mortal Kombat is. His Mortal Kombat every day is getting up and making sure that like he knows where he is, just because he has and then he had like that was hilarious. Like fucking they open the show and he has to go, Tony, where are we?
I was dying too. Some of the calls he had, there was another one too where he said something and Excalibur's like, yeah, that's not right. So anyway, the top
I quoted one of them that I sent. Did I send it in the group chat? It was
but when you look for another one, I want to put out. So do you ever wonder if Excalibur just makes up words sometimes? Because sometimes he'll start explaining, like, this came from the Tanahashi region of the tribe, and he's like, I'm like, I feel like he can make this shit up and nobody's gonna call him because we don't know. Like we don't know. And then also, but then he also does explain things people don't pick up, since we'll go into the CM Punk match while you're looking for that. CM Punk coming out to his Ring of Honor music and his Ring of Honor gear. Excalibur immediately says, that's his music from Ring of Honor. I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I didn't know, because I didn't remember his music that well from Ring of Honor. And then some reporter on Twitter, I guess, goes, what's the significance behind the music? Well, you're going to get snarky Phil, because clearly you've never seen Phil's Twitter before. So Phil kind of had a douchebaggy response. And then everybody's up in arms. Like, literally, I've never seen people complain on Twitter as much as I have recently besides this to be. Like, oh, well, it's not our job. We're casual fans. We don't know everything. Like, okay, that's fine. But Excalibur literally told you the significance to it. This guy's supposed to be a journalist, in my personal opinion. Not a very good journalist if you can't even remember what was just told to you, or at least research to make sure you understood something correctly. Then put yourself out there against someone who you should know is going to give you a douchebag response, because that's what he does to people who are dumb. And I'm not saying the journalist was dumb, but when you ask dumb questions, and I'm sorry, but people who say, well, there's no such thing as him. Yes, that's what you tell little kids to keep their confidence. But I'm sorry, as a grown adult, I will tell you, I'm not saying there's not some things as dumb questions, but there's unresearched questions.
At one point in the show, JR was talking about, I can't remember which people it was, but it was one of his old partners, and he called them old running butter. He called him his old running butter.
If you guys definitely, someone could make money if they just clipped all the JR sound clips from his entire AEW run. You could make some serious cash, because he's got, and he'll call himself out in grilling with JR too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing too, is that like I'll give JR credit a lot of times. He can at least laugh at himself after the fact, but like, how do you start a show and be like, Tony, where the fuck are we? Oh man, only JR can start a show that way and then recover, because he still had a decent show. He just always, with JR and his age and stuff, he's always going to have a couple moments for show where you're like, what the fuck did he just say? Like it's going to happen. It's like when they went off air and he called Kenny Omega the WWE champion. Like it's going to happen. He's going to slip up. He's an older guy. He's not as fast as he used to be, as quick-witted and stuff. And there's probably certain things in his mind he's trying to get out and say that just don't come out right. So like in his head, he's like, this is going to be hilarious. And then he goes to say it and he fucks up and he says, oh, running butter. so it was hilarious, just not what you were trying to do.
Speaking of hilarious, the ladder match, we got Wardlow, right? That was a fun ladder match, besides Orange Cassidy dying. When Keith Lee threw him out of the ring and broke his shoulder.
And Starks at the end there took a pretty nasty bump on the ladder. That didn't
it didn't look good at all.
No. I think most of his head though went in one of the holes, so I think he was okay. Thankfully, I think it just looked worse because if you look at the angle, his shoulders hit the ladder square, and I think his head actually went in one of the, which is why he tipped over so much. So I think that it looked worse than it was, but yeah, it was definitely kind of an ugly looking spot at the end there.
I will say though, a cool spot though, when Orange Cassidy was doing the helicopter and they grabbed him and then he like flipped himself upwards that was a cool spot because I haven't seen that done before.
Yeah, they it's crazy to think that there's still spots in a ladder match we haven't seen. You know what I mean? They've been doing ladder matches now for like 25 years, all these different companies. And it seems like AEW, even WWE to a point, still pulls out like one or two like things that you never see, that you've never seen before, and you're like, how are they still able to do things like that?
It's crazy to think about it. I know, like just even some of the ways they were climbing the ladders, like when all four of them were like, I thought the chemistry there was great. It's kind of like what we thought, the big guys in there were for the muscle. And then you had the bumpers, poor Ricky Starks and Orange Cassidy, because they got the ever living crap kicked out of him in that match.
Christian too. I mean, he didn't take any like the high flying bumps, but he took a lot of the in the ring bumps.
Right. And
I'll give him credit too.
I like that he was there to kind of do the whole, oh no, they're going to give it to him. Like they kind of troll the fans like, oh, we're going to give it to Christian. We're going to give this to Christian. But they had the right choice. They went with Wardlow. And like I said earlier at the top of the show, like, man, they strapped the rocket to him, and I'm glad they did. Like later on when he turns on MJF by handing him the ring, like pretending not to have the ring, like, dude,
he played that off so good. Excuse me, he played that off so good. His facials and stuff as he's like trying to find him, and he's going through every pot. Dude, pure gold. And the best part is too of that ladder match. The thing that rings to me is at the end of the match. How impressive was Wardlow box jumping from the ring to that ladder that was even with the fucking top rope?
Yes, that was
without grabbing anything. He grabbed the ladder when he got up there. It's like, holy shit! That's an over 3 foot fucking flat jump. Like I know Lesnar,
first take too, yeah.
And I know Lesnar used to do that from the ring, and he still kind of does it, but it's not like as good as it used to be because he can't quite really get up as good as he can. He can still get up there, but it's not you haven't seen him do it in a while really. Usually he takes the stairs now, but like holy hell, that was the most impressive thing. I mean, that flat, like if you go back and watch it, just appreciate, like I said, that ladder is flat across from the top rope, and Wardlow literally just springs from the ring apron, from the mat to the friggin' ladder flat across to catch Starks. It's like,
and I don't know if people have been in wrestling rings, but you have that like thin padding under your feet, so it's not like he could really plant his feet and press down hard,
right? And it's not a trampoline like some people think there.
Not at all. So like he's pressing on cushion, so he has to use extra force in his legs. And it was just like, holy shit. I agree. I thought it was a great match, and I'm excited to see. I think he's going to get screwed over this week against Scorpio, the new TNT champion, which very happy they pulled the trigger on Scorpio because he deserves it. And he's a great wrestler and finally has something besides awkward tag team with Dan Lambert.
And they finally got rid of the extra belt.
Thank God. But I don't know. Wardlow's going to get screwed over by MJF, I think, in retaliation. Because I don't think don't make Scorpio a transitional champion. That's one thing I'm asking. I know no one from AEW listens to this, but if they do, please don't make him a transitional champion.
Well, and it gives American Top Team something to use to give them more clout too, because without a title or without something to go for that means something, they're just a loudmouth asshole with two dudes and one almost porn star, and like, I mean, granted, the porn star could probably kick any of the dudes' asses on the roster, but like, that's all they are without the title right now. They need that title to be like, hey, look, we're legit. Come get us. Like, and it makes sense.
I saw a meme because after Scorpio said that he gave the other belt to Dan for his trophy case, but I saw a meme that said it shows Ethan Page looking sad, like because they were going to give him the second one.
I said that in our text. I'm like, maybe Ethan will just carry the other one, like he's the fucking. He's Virgil.
That's why I thought he's Virgil. Yeah, that's why I thought it was funny when you said that, because literally I saw that same meme and it was like Ethan, like, oh, when he realized you gave it to Dan Lambert. And then obviously we have the great CM Punk MJF match. That match of the night for me. Match of the night.
Anybody that says that match was a letdown, honest to God, needs to stop watching wrestling. Just go watch Little House on the Prairie or Days of Our Lives or something, because this match told a story. This match was everything a dog collar match should be, other than the fact that I correctly called Max couldn't blade to save his life.
Yeah, I was going to say, I noticed pretty quickly, too, that I'm like, oh, his cut healed. Like, his blood's gone. But then again, CM Punk is his gusher reopened, so it was a bloodbath on his end.
Well, and it's funny, too, because when he got busted open, he went to the outside, and the ref followed him. In my head, I'm like, oh, my God, the ref has to cut him. Max doesn't know. But that's what I thought right away. Apron? Yeah, well, so Max took that fall to the floor. Punk was in the ring, and the referee went out to check on Max. And then that right after that was when Punk followed him out, and that's when he was bloody. That's when he had to catch up on like one side of his head, and that was it. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, the ref just had to cut him. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I'm like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. And then he comes up and he's got one spot of blood like right here. And I'm like, I fucking knew it. That fucking dumbass. I was like, nobody. It's like the mass transit incident. Fucking Punk's over here bleeding like a stuck pig, and New Jack's like, "You're gonna bleed, you son of a bitch!" Like, if I were Punk, I would be so upset that like that match was so good. But imagine if fucking MJF was bleeding a gusher too. Like, oh, dude, that would have been great, because then Punk could have grabbed his blood and been like, "Fuck you," and like it just could have been. Instead, MJF's like, I have ketchup on my forehead right here.
I know,
guys. Can you wipe the ketchup off? Wardlow, you have a napkin?
But yeah, no, like you said earlier, like him, he finds the ring. Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
and CM Punk delivers the knockout, and then CM Punk delivers what was the power of the punch, which I'm gonna use to segue quickly since we already talked about Breaker into. Holy crap, William Regal did not see that. I knew he was a free agent. If you said you saw him debut that night, you're lying, because even Tony Schiavone's like, I didn't know the motherfucker was here until I saw him like a few minutes before we went out. Yeah. So like
they did really good of not leaking that he was there. It was not leaked that he was backstage. It was not nothing. The only leak they had was earlier in the week. Somebody had mentioned that they might bring him in for Ring of Honor. That's the only thing they had mentioned about Regal. And it wasn't even that he was at that show. They just said that now that Ring of Honor is owned by Tony, that they might bring him in for that. That was the only thing his name had ever been mentioned at all.
And then, after another amazing match, Tim called it, that Bryan Danielson, Moxley, I was surprised, but I like that they had Moxley beat him kind of a questionable way. But then Regal just coming out and slapping the shit out of both of them. And then delivering, and I know he apologized for taking too long in the promo, delivering one of the most passionate promos I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I've never seen Moxley smile like that in the ring. So you could tell he was genuinely like a kid at a candy store, that he's got one of his good friends, Bryan Danielson, but now friggin' William Regal, who helped him through his NXT run and helped him backstage when he was at Raw, gave him advice. And now we're going to get them basically having this Danielson dojo with William Regal as essentially like their manager. And I was telling Emily, I'm like, I hope we get some of the comedy Regal again too. Like, remember when Jericho pissed in his coffee and he was like, "Tease," like, his faces.
I think it would be really cool if they kind of do almost like a Team Hell No type thing between Moxley and Bryan every now and again, and Regal has to be Dr. Shelby, where he has these like weird segments of like, like trying to get him to knock it off, and he just has like it's like you said, the slight comedy routine here and there. Like, it's perfect when it's done in like, not ad nauseum. Like, you just want to do it a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's all you need.
Yeah. Like, have an ugly win, have Regal give that like sour ball face that only he can do.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought it was perfect too. He didn't have to come out and kind of promo at Revolution. He just came out and slapped the shit out of him. And that crowd was just,
and then he headbutted Moxley.
Yeah.
He was like, I know it wasn't like a big one, but still, he's like, back up. And
I will say, I love too when the other debut Swerve happened that you had Shivani holding the contract, but Like, I'm going to use this.
You could read the contract. It said Swerve on it.
He was like going like this. So like it just kept saying Swerve. So he's like introducing, like, we know it's Swerve. We can see the name. Like, it wasn't in like 12-point font. It was in like 97-point font.
You could see it from the moon.
Like, the crowd can clearly see it on the Jumbotron. So they're all chanting Swerve, Swerve, Swerve. So he's like, let me introduce you. So like, I feel like he didn't really get the pop because the pop already started.
And then they go, Leo Rush. It really was a swerve.
Oh, God.
Anyways, it's a swerve, bro.
Then I was surprised that it came on second to last was that mixed man tag match with Darby Allin, Sammy, Sting. And
you just call it a mixed man tag match?
No, the multi-man I meant to say. But I,
I think you called it a mixed man tag match.
Well, okay, well, I'll put it, yeah. This is why we need Tim, guys, because I'm not good at driving.
Did we skip the tag match?
No, I think we did, but again, I'm not good at driving. Tag match, I was more surprised. We kind of called it Ascension for, the Bucks and Red Dragon, and I didn't think they were going to let the Jurassic Express retain, so that surprised me. But I'm glad that seeing what they're letting them run with it, but. It's still the storyline was there. We just got the winners wrong.
Well, and as soon as Red Dragon lost, I'm like, fuck, that means Paige is winning. I'm like, fuck, I just got 2 matches wrong. Damn it. but anyways,
I would say the 6-man tag match. I'm going to say it that way, or the tornado, whatever they're calling it, wasn't terrible. It was a lot better than I thought. And like you posted on our socials, Sting is 62 years old. And dove from the friggin' not rafters, the little balcony thing where the overhang is.
That fan video that I posted shows you just how far down he was. Like on TV, you get a good idea of it, but like seeing it from behind, it's like that motherfucker. I know there was tables and Andrade caught him and whatever, but holy hell, like that's a long way down.
You're still though going down with gravity. Gravity ain't your friend.
No, not at 62,
right? And then you have the unfortunate Darby Allin botch at the end where he goes to do the coffin drop and Matt Hardy starts to roll like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to roll. So Darby had already kind of mistimed it a little bit. So he misses him by a mile and still.
If
I'm glad he at least covered him.
If Darby had thought about what to do, he would have rolled over, kind of pummeled Hardy again, and then hit it again, and just made it look like he rolled out of the way. Like that's the only way to fix that. Besides what he did was he would have had to think on his feet of literally quickly rolling over, just giving him a few forearm elbows, climb the other side, hit it. That's the only way you fix that. Besides what happened, and Darby just didn't. Darby wanted to go right. He wanted to go home because he was probably told hey, we need to go here. So he just ended the match like he was supposed to, even though it looked bad. But like I said, if he had just taken maybe another 20 seconds, gave him a few elbows, fists, got up, did his thing, and then did the coffin drop, then pinned him, it would have definitely saved the end of the match. But
I was thinking too, even if he didn't have a coffin drop, he could have just stomped him and done that weird little pin he does.
Yeah.
Where he ties
either way. Yeah.
But again, he's going to grow with that too. So that, I just feel bad because I'm a great botch man. He's going to have a field day with some of these
Dude, it was the most talked about spot of the pay-per-view that was negative. And if that's the case,
I'm not complaining. I just feel bad because he's not usually that bad. It was just, you could tell it was miscommunication, Matt rolling, but it at least leads into probably my second favorite match. Because honestly, my top 3 was CM Punk number 1, Moxley number 2, and then Paige Cole number 3. They were all great.
Jericho Eddie's in there somewhere too, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I can't. It's hard to rank them because there wasn't a match on the card like that match sucks.
The only match that had spots were the botch we just talked about, and then the Jade Ty Conti match. There were a few spots where, like I said, it slowed down, and Ty did her best to keep up or to slow down to let Jade catch up. But really, that's it. Going back and looking at it, there wasn't a whole lot to really go there just wasn't.
I know. I'd say the way it ended, I'm sad that it wasn't Adam Cole, but I think they still protected him the right way. They did the finish. I like that they had to make Adam Page go dark, that they had to make him get brutal because that at least protects Adam Cole's character. Jeez, so many Adams in this fucking match. But I was right. I said Adam was going to win. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You did say an Adam was going to win.
I thought it was really cool. Just his gear, his Halo gear, that was pretty sweet when he came out like Master Chief.
Yeah.
Because you know it's a big fuck you to Vince too. Like
he looks like a superhero. By this point, Jim Ross is snoring. They're 4 hours into the show, and Jim Ross is just like.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I was exhausted. I wish AEW, because I know their next one's on Sunday too. We should go back to the Saturday pay-per-view.
Yeah, what made them go to Sundays? Is it just because Cody's not there now? So fucking Tony's like, we're going to Sundays, boys.
I don't know, but I mean, normally when a pay-per-view's this long, it's like I'm spent. I mean, I was pretty spent, but it wasn't like a WWE Mania 8 hours. You're just like, I hate my life.
Yeah,
I was 30 enjoyed. I'd probably give the pay-per-view like an 8 out of 10.
It was a solid 8, I think. And like I said, full disclosure, I watched it the next day and did not skip through anything.
And he paid for it, folks.
I did.
He didn't illegally stream it.
So I tried it. What I wanted to do is I was trying to just find the highlights on YouTube, and I couldn't find a good clip of all of them. I found like the first 3 matches with good highlights. Like I wasn't going to pirate it. I just wanted to see the highlights, to see the what I missed and stuff, and just to stay current and everything. And then I found out, Mongo mentioned how good the show was, and a lot of other people had said the same thing. I'm like, well, you know what? I'll just buy the damn thing. And I have no regrets for literally buying a pay-per-view the day after it came out for the same price I would have paid the day that it came out. So that's saying something.
No, I agree.
So now that we wasted 40 minutes, do we even want to cover TNA? My mom's going to be so pissed.
Next up, we have.
But yeah, I guess we should probably get into TNA. We're going to have to kind of breeze through this a little bit because we definitely took a little bit too long. Sorry, Mom. So starting off, we're just going to go through the dark matches real quick. TNA Destination X 2006 is our show this week. So Shannon Moore defeats Cassidy Riley in a dark match. We know how Mongo feels about Shannon Moore. We'll just keep moving on. It was about a 3-minute match. Anyways, then the next match that was also not on the main card was the Diamonds in the Rough. David Young, Elix Skipper with Simon Diamond defeated Shark Boy and Norman Smiley. That's a pretty neat combo of Shark Boy and Norman Smiley. I think that it was probably very entertaining. And I think that David Young still is as entertaining as a wrestler I've ever seen in my life. So that's saying something. Saying that match was probably entertaining just because Shark Boy and Norman Smiley, and I like Elix Skipper too. But that David Young guy just he reminds me of like Dean Malenko mixed with Lance Storm character wise. He's just dry like a piece of 60 grit sandpaper.
If I could be serious for a moment.
Yeah. So the main card though, just like AEW show this past week, was probably a banger. The first match was Alex Shelley defeating Jay Lethal in just under 10 minutes. I think that you can very easily compare this match to the way that the Jericho Kingston match started off the AEW show. Gets the crowd going, two high flying guys, and I think that they did it right too by kind of letting each guy have their spots. There were some high spots with a lot of close near falls towards the end of the match too, which made it kind of suspenseful. I will say this is the type of match that TNA had that you really didn't know who was going to win. Like, some of these matches for TNA, like if you see Jeff Jarrett come out, you're like, well, we know who's going to win. But this was a type of match that you just didn't really know who was going to win, and that's entertaining. And both Shelley and Jay Lethal are still relevant today, which is impressive. That it's 2006 we're talking about. So,
no, I agree. It was a great match. This was we talked about it a little bit at the end of last year. Alex Shelley's creepy little stalker cameraman gimmick.
Yep.
So I kind of feel bad because he was kind of stuck in some bad gimmicks for a little while, but this match definitely showcased why they were the future of TNA and why they would be so successful in Ring of Honor and other places, because their chemistry was phenomenal, their moves. There's points where it was just Jay Lethal countering everything Alex Shelley did, and Alex Shelley countering everything he did. So they were so fluid in the ring. So it didn't look like they were just waiting for spots every few seconds. It looks like they were just connected. And that's what you want to see in wrestling when it looks like a genuine fight. Like they're genuinely struggling to control the pace and power of the match. And I mean, it was a great way to start the show. I really enjoyed that match.
Next up, we have
Lance Hoyt, the one that would go on to be Vance Archer, whatever you want to call him. Lance Archer, obviously, right now in AEW, defeats, Matt Bentley,
Maverick Matt Bentley.
Yeah, that guy.
Shawn Michaels' cousin.
Yeah, I was going to say another one of those people, just like Shannon Moore, that were like, "Why is he here?"
No, but you want to know how much they care about this match? Why don't we talk about what we're seeing right now? During the match, what are we seeing? So this is how much they cared about the match.
Yep.
They're literally in the middle of the match, and they're zooming to the rafters to JB, who's got Eric Young next to him with a bucket of flyers. So as the match is going on, they're filming the rafters because they're looking for Sting. Eric Young proceeds to throw flyers.
Like I was going to say, like Mongo says, while this match is going on, the guys are laying, and you can see them laying in the ring right now. And Eric Young's throwing flyers from the balcony.
And this is going to be the finish. So this was incorporated to the match.
Yeah.
This is how much they cared about both these performers, it said. So the flyers are coming down, and you got Tracy grabbing a flyer. And she's going up to Maverick Matt Bentley, which is a stupid name too, by the way. And she's distracting him with a flyer, like, "Hey, get your attention!" And all the flyers is looking for Steve Borden, and she's pointing to the rafters, saying, "Look at the flyer." He's like, "What are you talking about? What are you doing?" And then you have Lance Archer looking at him, like getting ready, like, "What's okay?" Pumping himself up for something, and it's just like
it was probably that friggin'
the big boot.
Oh,
and then that's the end of the match. Like,
yeah. Well, at least Bentley has the flyer to hold on to for later.
But what was the point? Why would your manager distract you with a flyer when you have this 6 foot tall guy trying to take your fucking head off? And she sees him. Like, where's the logic?
So then this next match, Tim, what are your thoughts on this next match?
The point, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just tired of it.
So this next match is the Team Canada gimmick that we know that.
We all know my feelings about Team Canada.
Yeah, there we go.
Team Canada. We all know my feelings about Team Canada.
Tell us again, Tim. This next match was, we all know how Tim feels about Team Canada, the whole gimmick and everything. So obviously the flyer thing sets up the Team Canada with Bobby Roode, Eric Young, with Scott D'Amore and A1 Steak Sauce. That would have been a good clip to have, Bongo. The A1 Steak Sauce. That would have been good. Defeat the Naturals, Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas. What
was the finish? Was it a hockey stick like always?
I mean, there might have been, a hockey stick with a flag on it that seems to be involved in all these matches.
Never banned from ringside.
Yeah. And again, it was a little over 13 minutes. The match itself wasn't terrible. I will say that that's one good thing that saves Team Canada is that most of their matches aren't bad. It's just their finishes suck because they usually involve, DQ style finishes or styles of match, finishes that should be DQs that get missed. Oh, the hockey stick, all that crap. So the wrestling itself in this match was pretty good. The body of the match itself was pretty good. And again, another finish that was, hockey stick involved and gaga and stuff, which is unfortunate because, these four guys could actually wrestle pretty well. And 9 times out of 10, when you do a gaga finish, it's because you don't like the performers in the ring, So why they keep doing it to decent performers or better than decent performers, I don't know. But anyhow, and I think it's too bad too. Like we've pointed out, Tim. Wait, I'm not done. So I've also pointed out before too, and we've mentioned on the show that Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas for what they've done on the TNA shows, we haven't seen anything of them of recent. So they kind of had their short run there, and then they kind of fizzled out. But to be fair, they were actually very talented. I will give them credit for, they weren't just like, oh, hey, they tried. Like they were actually pretty talented.
They were just
All right.
stuck in limbo forever.
Yeah.
They were
All
just
right,
stuck
Tim.
in limbo forever.
All right, Tim, I'm done now if you want to.
Next up, we have
This was
Live,
Tim.
3 Live, 2 Live, whatever they are, crew and the James Gang, whatever they're calling themselves now.
And they're taking on the Latin American Exchange, the LAX. This is
0.5.
like, I was going to say, this is like Wong was talking about. This is not even like version 1.0. This is version 0.5 with Homicide, Machete, and Conan. This is when Bullet Bob Armstrong was also in the match. So it was a 6-man with the 3 Live, 2 Live, 8 Live, James Gang, like Tim said in the beginning. So, I mean, another one of those things that you just really don't need, I guess is the best way to.
Both their longest running storylines that have beaten you over the head to death were just back to back. And I'm not going to lie, these two matches almost put me to sleep. Like, seriously, the two worst things about TNA 05 and 06 are back to fucking back on the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Well, 3 worst if you count the flyers at the end of the friggin' match before that.
I know, I was so disrespectful to Archer.
Yeah, well, and Archer gets that for most of his career too, though. Like you start actually realizing, like we've pointed out, the guy never wins, like ever. Like, I mean, I know you got to win there, but like he had to get a win by someone distracting their own person with a flyer of steak. Like, what? So anyhow, we move past the debacle that was the 2 Live, 3 Live, 5 Live, James Gang against 0.5 version of LAX. I think that the card itself does pick up a bit here. I will say that it gets a little bit better here. Based on the fact that you have the International X match, Petey Williams with, again, A1 steak sauce versus a shoe versus Sanjay Dutt. Yeah, I'm sorry. That actually says Puma. My bad. I thought it was actually a shoe. Anyway, Sanjay Dutt and Chris Sabin. Your typical banger style X Division. What TNA was built around is exactly what this match was. Anytime you get, and then that's one thing I will give Jarrett and TNA credit for, is that the X Division and the Ultimate X match was new and was something that nobody had seen before. It wasn't a ladder match. It wasn't, you had something hanging, but you had to go get it by using the cables, which was a cool twist on what essentially is a concept of a ladder match. So that definitely made it really cool, especially the first few times you see it. It's kind of like the Elimination Chamber. The first couple that you see, you're like, oh, dude, that was cool. Same kind of thing. And the Money in the Bank, same kind of, concept. I know it's a ladder match, but you're like, oh, there's like 8 guys in there and they're trying to get so definitely the first few Destination X or Ultimate X matches were really good, especially when you had like the Samoa Joe, Daniels and AJ Styles ones. But even this was, a style of a match leading up to a showcase style of a match of what the division could do leading up to the match we're going to talk about later, which again, one of those banger style. And I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but when you see the commercials for old TNA and like what they could do, you see that spot where AJ's hanging and he gets hit and he does that like 180 flip to his back, but he almost pauses in midair before he comes around. Like that one spot to me always sticks out. So kudos to TNA for coming up with a concept that was fresh enough that kind of branded their style that they built their show around, I guess.
And what I loved is the international division at TNA was, no pun intended, the best in the world. At the time, you had WWE. Basically, this is when they really started to not acknowledging anything. They bought WCW 5 years prior. Nothing else existed. They didn't care about Ring of Honor that was only 4 years old at this time. They didn't really give a shit about All Japan or New Japan. They certainly didn't give a shit about TNA until the Highlanders showed up and they fired them. But the TNA was smart. They would work with All Japan and New Japan. They would work with Ring of Honor. They would work with other promotions across the world to exchange talent. Say, look, we want to use this guy on our pay-per-view. And they're like, okay, we're getting exposure. And they would always treat them properly. They would not squash them. They wouldn't bury them. Like you said, this was a showcase match. And Puma got a lot of offense in. Usually in these kind of matches, they kind of like take some bumps here and there, but they usually don't want them to do anything too crazy. There was one point he was like on the X and he like kind of splashed off it onto the entire like everyone in the crowd, and then you have Saban with that sick cradle shock. This match was awesome, and it's why I like watching Destination X. I agree with you 100%.
And I also want to point out that if I made it seem like this was an Ultimate X match, I apologize. That wasn't what I was getting at. I was getting at that this
X Division, it gets confusing with all the names in TNA.
Yeah, and I was kind of pointing out that this style of match is showcasing what would come also later in the Ultimate X, except with the cables. And so like I skipped ahead a little bit, so I don't want people to be like, wait, that wasn't an Ultimate X match. No, my point was
they had the pillars up for it.
Yeah. My point was it was an X Division style match that would kind of like show you what you would see later, but except with the cables. You know what I mean? Same kind of, and I want you to point out, Mongo, who was Puma?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember this.
You do know. He was also Suicide.
Oh, Frankie Kazarian?
Nope.
Christopher Daniels?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know.
TJ Perkins.
I don't think there's no way this is TJ Perkins right now. This is 2006.
If you click on the Puma thing from Wikipedia, it gives you TJ Perkins.
There's no way. Really? I'm gonna mind blow. So this is live Mongo researching right now.
Yeah. He was born in 84, so it could have happened. He would have been 22.
No shit.
Yep.
Little baby Maxwell Friedman. No shit.
Yeah, so I wanted to point that out.
Well, he said Suicide. I was like, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian.
No, I mean you nailed people that played Suicide. But yeah, Puma was TJP. Ironically enough.
Yeah, he was in New
Sorry to put you on the spot without you know. I thought you knew.
No. Hey, cool. That's
mind blown. We all every now and again we can be educational here without being jackasses.
Speaking of jackasses,
yeah. Like I said, the match does pick up the card.
We have
next up we do have Tim. It's tough because I'm reading the Wikipedia page while Tim's trying to talk, and I just don't see him on the screen talking. So I apologize for cutting him off all the time. So, next up we have, as Tim, to quote Tim, Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, and AMW, Chris Storm, Jesus. Wildcat Chris Harris, and Cowboy James Storm. Sorry, James. I mean, he's a friend of the show, and I just butchered. I made them one person, like they were a cyborg.
Sounds like a superhero.
Like JR is like, God damn it, that's a superhero. Come on out. AMW, Chris Harris, James Storm, with Gail Kim, James Mitchell, the Pope. Who else they bring out? They brought out Brother Love. Everybody, everyone.
Remember that Undertaker match that we did for Royal Rumble '94? This was their version of that. Like,
Yokozuna.
The locker room came out.
Yokozuna showed up. Like, it's like, wait, aren't you dead? Like, it was. It seemed like this group just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they just anyways. And they defeated the essentially the thrown together ECW team with Ron Killings, obviously. The ECW team of Rhino, Ron Killings, and Team 3D, which was Brother Ray, Brother Devon, in a 8-man war is what they called it. That was the stipulation of the match, an 8-man war. Yeah, well, it's like that match where they locked them in the closet before the fucking thing, and they had 24 hours where they couldn't do anything. This is the 20 minutes of make sure you don't fall asleep during the show.
Good. I can't believe this was 20 minutes. The first match was short.
Yeah. Mongo is literally telling you he would have rather seen the Shannon Moore match.
Yeah.
I'd
rather get tattooed by Shannon Moore.
No, there you go.
Tell him he sucks.
This, this has a lot of good performers in it, but we always talk about it. Whenever you get, like a style of match like this, and then you get that many people, no matter how good they are, very rarely does the match come off well. And 9 times out of 10, it looks just bad.
It was just brawling for like half an hour. That's what it felt like. It felt like they started fighting in the crowd, and that's all they did. And
to be fair, before we go any further on that 6-man at AEW did almost the same thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel the way this did. I don't know why, but if you think about it, they were almost the same type of match where they weren't in the ring very often. And if you think about the AEW show, that match, that 6-man, seemed to have come off better than this 8-man. So,
and there's also a lot of interference too, which that's what's hard is it's already as we say, clusterfuckery.
Yeah.
When you have 8 people in the ring, which that's why you have to do the crowd brawls. Like, we're not stupid here on the show. We know that you have to brawl in the crowd. You have to brawl outside the ring because otherwise it's just going to look like a freaking battle royal in the ring.
Right.
But it just didn't seem executed. It just seemed like it was Jarrett wanting to bring all his friends on TV to pay them. Like, Bruce, what are you doing? What are you doing? Nothing? All right. Slap on some brother love shit. Get out here.
Yeah. He's like, I'd love to.
Money.
Yeah. Right. Speaking of that, where's Conrad? I don't know if you guys noticed during the week, but we had communications on Twitter with Conrad or whoever handles his Twitter. We're not 100% sure. We think it's him. Could be someone that handles it for him now. We know he is a busy guy. Newsflash, Connie, the invite's out there. So now you can't, when we question you and say, when you coming on the show, and you say, as soon as I get invited, well, the invite's been out there for like 5 days, bro. Where you at?
Baby, come back.
Yeah, right? Where you at, Connie? Come on. We know that you're not doing anything on Fridays because Bruce is too damn busy on a Friday to put a show out. Come talk to us on a Friday for a little bit, man. Come on. Well, we know here's the problem, though. Honestly, with Bruce's schedule right now, he probably has to keep his schedule on the weekend so fucking open for like the one window that Bruce has between like 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning to actually record. So I kind of feel bad for Conrad on that aspect. I know that he's kind of done a lot of this to himself by having so many shows, but like Bruce has to be the most pain in his ass to get a show recorded. Because like you hear it every time you listen to one of his shows. He's like, well, first we were going to record this day. And then Bruce never responded. Then he finally responds the next morning, but I was busy. And then he decides, okay, we'll do it this night. But then he fell asleep. It's just it. And, I get that, Bruce is busy and everything else. So like, I know we kind of joke about the best of thrown together kind of shows. Kudos to Conrad's team, though, for at least getting something out every week. I will give them credit. I mean, I know it might be a remix that some people have heard, but they have so many episodes. There's a good chance that some of those earlier shows, some people didn't hear. So, I mean, at least they're putting something out instead of just going, where's Bruce this week? So, but yeah, no, I mean.
So, transitioning back to TNA here,
Thanks, Tim. We kind of went off the rails there a little bit. This is the match that I was referring to earlier when we talked about the other X Division match. You have the TNA X Division Championship in an Ultimate X match. Christopher Daniels defeats Samoa Joe, who was the champion. Now, mind you, Samoa Joe at this point was still undefeated, I believe.
Yes.
Now, again, being that it's an Ultimate X match, you're not actually pinning the champion. So again, a way to take the belt off him without actually beat him without beat him, you know? So anyways, the third man was AJ Styles, obviously, like we mentioned. So yeah, like you just said, Mongo, I mean, how else do you take a title off a guy you want to keep undefeated?
And this was such an iconic moment for me too. I always remember like when Christopher Daniels, pretty much did the they call it the Shawn Michaels, like the belt, like the final, like he got his belt. Like it was nice to see, because at this point, Christopher Daniels was red hot. AJ Styles was red hot. Samoa Joe, like he's undefeated. You didn't know who they're going to put the belt in, even back then. Even watching this, like, I knew the ending just because I knew it was how they got the belt off him to keep him going. But I couldn't remember if it was actually Samoa Joe. I mean, if it was AJ Styles or Daniels, because I tried to read which one won. I just knew one of them won it. But then as soon as I saw the ending, I'm like, oh, this is an iconic moment where he drops down, he celebrates his title. So yeah, it was a great match. I mean, the ending was a little out of the blue. Like it kind of just seemed like Joe kind of gets kicked in the face of the chair, and then he just kind of climbs up and gets it. So it's a little anticlimactic of a finish, but I'm guessing they must have ran out of time somewhere.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, this match was only 13 minutes. It was one of the shorter matches on the card, and it should have been one of the longer ones. And I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that JEFF, JARRETT, his match probably ran over, because that was a 20-minute match. It did not need to be 20 minutes.
No, it should have been 10. And that's why I think this should have been like at least 20.
The Team Canada match was also 13 minutes. So like you could have shaved maybe a couple of minutes off that match. You could have shaved a couple of minutes off the cluster 8-man war thing, and you could have given this 16 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it very easily could have been, shaved that way. And then moving on, and like Mongo said, this is one of the most iconic matches in TNA history. When you think of TNA, you think of Ultimate X, you think of X Division. So kind of surprised that match didn't close the show based on the fact of what the pay-per-view was called. And especially knowing that your main event is going to be Christian Cage against Monty Brown. Yeah. The power of the pounds. I think that I 100% think they booked the end of the show wrong. If you're going to have a Destination X pay-per-view with an Ultimate X match, that match has to go on last. It has to. I get the world title should go on last. I get that. But you also have Christian, who at this time is pretty much brand new to being a singles wrestler, not in WWE. You know what I mean? He's just shown up here. He can wrestle, but it's also not the name that can carry a Monty Brown. I don't think. I don't know about you, Mongo, but I don't think that Christian is the name that can carry a Monty Brown in a main event pay-per-view for the NWA title as his first title defense too, right? Didn't he just win the title last month?
Yeah, so this was his first title defense against the guy
who's fucking Monty Brown.
Against someone who's used to being on the practice squad.
Yeah.
And playing in championships but never winning them, because he played for the Bills and the Patriots, losing Super Bowl. So he's used to losing championships, but it was an awful match. I mean, Christian did what he could. It was an awful match. And then at the end, it was just a clusterfuck of Jarrett coming out, and then Steve Borden, not Sting, because, this is back when Jarrett was doing his whole psychological bullshit to Sting. Steve Borden comes out. This is what pisses me off about the ending of this pay-per-view. He comes out, he cleans house. He takes out everyone in the ring. There's like 15 fucking people in this ring. And then Scott fucking Steiner walks out with his damn bowling balls under his arm, gets in the ring, puts on the weakest looking Steiner Klein I've ever seen on Sting, and Sting can't. He can't. Big Papa Pump is just too big Papa powerful. Like he can't. You cleared ring of everyone else, but no. Friggin' Mr. Roid Rage himself walks out there to do his Steiner math in a few years, and that's who you're gonna fall to, Steve Borden. What the hell was this ending?
The big bad booty daddy. And his bowling
can't subtract that as calculated, Daddy.
Little Petey Pump will help. I think that, again, the show was formatted wrong. I think that this, obviously they had this go on last because they wanted the Sting and they wanted the Steiner stuff. Here's my thing. Can you think of all this? So this is my one knock on TNA is every pay-per-view that we've done almost one full calendar year now of pay-per-views. I think actually we have. I think this is the 12th one. I think next month will be the anniversary of doing them because I think
next month we did Lockdown.
Yeah, because I got the Impact Plus app in March last year. I do remember that. Can you think of a pay-per-view that a main event didn't end with multiple people and interference and stuff like that?
Probably the first one we did back in
Well, even the Christian Cage winning one was somewhat clean, like compared to some of the one but that's the one knock on TNA right now is their shows are so good, and then you get to the end and it's like, hey guys, let's get 6 guys lined up. Let's all just puke in the ring and call it done. Look, it's artwork. Yay. And it's like, no, it's not, Jeff. Like, I wish that someone was backstage that had any stroke besides Jeff was like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why does every main event have to have
finisher name?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm glad you caught on to that. But like, at some point you have to look and go, every fucking show we do ends with bullshit. Every single one of them, every match that ends our pay-per-view is never a fucking clean 1-2 goddamn 3.
Yep.
Like, why can't we have that as a wrestling match? Why can't the interference not happen? Do we not have the wrestling ability to have a fucking wrestling match and the show, especially on Destination X, when you had probably one of the best matches in the company's history, one of the 10 best matches of all time, with 3 of the best performers of all time? Like, right. Fucking hello. Like that's the one, and I know I'm getting a little heated about it, but that's the one frustrating thing is that you enjoy this show all the way to the end, and then someone just diarrheas on the end of the show, and you're like, oh, great, this was shit, huh? And that's the last thing you remember when the show goes off the air. You're like, the fuck was that? Yep. You're like, oh, the show was good, but you're still trying to figure out the ending because you don't even know what the hell just happened. Like you said, Sting clears house, beats up everybody, clotheslines Don West into the 15th row. TNA gets up there, gets a nut shot, and then Steiner, you know what I mean? He's cleaning house. Like, everybody's just getting, Sting's flailing around like fucking Texas tornado. Kerry Von Erich, flailing, Tasmanian devil. And then all of a sudden Steiner comes out and friggin', I'm going to make you my bitch. And that's how it's like, what? And that's the one thing I think that is frustrating about TNA is that every time we watch one of these shows, we get to the end like this and we're like, well, if it wasn't for the ending, this show would have been a 7, but we're going to give it a 5.5 because the ending sucked. And it seems like every month that's what we do with a TNA show. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this is about a 5.5, 6. And that's because the ending pulled it down at least one full friggin' grade.
I give it a 6 too, man. I'd give it to quote you the Sean Waltman, and that's only because
fuck.
It's just like you said. It's always the ending that kills it for me. Like,
hey,
no matter what.
Good.
I was saying, no matter what, it's like you can have solid matches, but then we'll get an ending like this. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Crap.
Hey, speaking of X-Pac, it was cool to see him make his return a couple weeks ago too to the ring, and he looked really good from the clips that I saw. Speaking of Sean Waltman,
I was surprised. Yeah, he looked really good in the ring.
Yeah.
And now he's fighting Joey Janela, so you must be super excited about that.
Jelly Nutella, to quote Jim Cornette. I wanted to point out, I'm curious as to who FTR's new manager will be. I know there's rumors that it could be Bret Hart. I don't know how realistic that actually is. I think that might just be like a Swerve type thing. Not Swerve from AEW, but like
whose house? Swerve's house.
Yeah. So like, that's the other thing I wanted to point out. Tully Blanchard fired by FTR. It should be interesting to see how that goes. So again, thanks for joining us this week. Obviously, as you could tell, Tim was not with us. We pointed that out at the beginning, but we wanted to have some fun with the clips. I thought of it last night. I called Mongo. Mongo's like, I'll see what I can do. And he did a great job getting the clips out there. I only wish that I saw them coming because, like I said, I wasn't looking at that screen. I was looking at the Wikipedia, so it could have been a little bit smoother, but it was still cool to really have the clips in there. And I hope that Tim gets a chuckle out of the show because this is definitely been one of our more comedic shows, and I think that we just kind of needed to lighten the load, especially in the world today with the war stuff, Russia wise, the gas prices, going up. I think everybody just kind of needs a good laugh. So hopefully, not only do we give you some good wrestling content, but we also gave you a good reason to go, what the fuck's going on, and just had a decent laugh. And we decided that we wanted to go a little bit more comedical. What the hell?
Comedic.
Comical or comedic. Well, I kind of threw them together, but without Tim, we kind of wanted to go a little more comedy routine just to see how it would go, and hopefully Tim listens to it. I don't know how much time he'll have, but I think this is going to be pretty funny. So hopefully he gets a good chuckle out of it.
Yeah, no, hopefully you can. And so I think we're going to do some interesting planning here. So before we're up next week, we haven't really picked anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something that we've been talking about for a while. We're going to put up a poll on our socials to see what you guys want to hear us cover. So we'll find some options. We'll create a poll no later than tomorrow for you. We'll have you guys vote, and we'll choose the episode that gets the most votes.
Judy Bagwell on a poll.
Let's not
episode 120 on a poll.
I was going to say
that's what we should call it too. Episode 120 on a poll.
All right, write that down, Tim.
Tim,
write that down. Damn it! All right, I guess we should sign off then.
Yeah, we've gone long enough. My mom's going to be mad we're over an hour, but at least it's not an hour and a half.
Sorry, Linda.
Yeah. Mongo and I like to talk. Fuck. All right. Tim's the one that's always like he's when Regal was getting he's the showrunner when Regal's getting the wrap it up.
He's slapping up. Yes.
Yeah.
Regal slaps up.
Tim is the showrunner. He's doing the whole wrap it up. He's like, "Come on, guys, let's go. We're gonna run out of time." He times us pretty well. So it's comical though when we have just the two of us. We're longer than some of the ones we have when there's just three of us. So. But honestly, we hope Tim's back next week. Mongo did a great job of putting our socials on the screens for Twitter. If you end up watching the video clips of this, you'll see it. Tim at T Kurt on air, me at Rollin' Fuelus, and then Mongo at www.pap Mongo. Follow the socials, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We're pretty much everywhere now. Mongo does a great job of putting TikToks out there. Follow them, start sharing them, liking them, do what you got to do. And until next week, like Mongo said, episode 120 on a poll, that's what we're going to go for. I think that's a great name. And until then, I'm Rollin' Fuelus.
I'm Mongo.
And this has been Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. Sorry, Tim.
Get back here. Tim, get back here.
Sorry, Tim.
I hope you're all having a nice day.